All right, we're back. Let's try this at a much slower bit rate and see if we can sustain what we have. So I'm gonna go with this, and you guys can just freak out if the audio's not working or something, and then we'll see what we can do. Get my notes back up. Yeah, there's nothing like a bad feed if I'm sitting there talking and it just looks like crap. So let's talk media day 2. So media day 2 again started as let's do some pre-edits for media day 1, and then let's set up the best kind of capture that we can with it when it came to the FinTech side of the industry. Most of the media days are just to get folks some exposure to what the tone, what some of the new innovation that's coming out to the media, answer some questions before the industry partners and folks come in and then have to deal with the larger crowds and stuff. It gives that kind of access to CES in general. Now, obviously from our standpoint, my main goal was a couple things. I look at this entire venture out here as a two-parter. Part industry, what is it doing with the blockchain and crypto space? And then part 2, which is, you know, from a tech standpoint, what's the new hardware coming out? Are there going to be any unveilings that is going to affect the crypto mining space in general? And what are the supply issues going on right now, especially around the graphics card part of the crypto space? And can we get to the leaders and discuss those very critical pieces to the people that are trying to mine right now and try to uphold these big crypto networks? That last part I know is what you guys, by and large, that follow us want to know. You know, where are the GPUs at? When's the next cycles and batches coming out? What are the pricing going to be? Where's Volta? Is RX Vega going to show up in anything else besides, you know, the pre-canned, you know, hair dryer versions? You know, where's the innovation at on that? So that is what, you know, we were looking to cover out here. So the day 2, which was yesterday, till about 11 o'clock in the morning, it was essentially all editing. Now, we didn't put out our video for day 1 until roughly 5 o'clock, because we did a lot of post-editing on that, and then we had a lot of issues trying to find somewhere where we could upload. The problem was the video was done early, just we could not sustain an upload anywhere, so we ended up finding a place. We actually had to come all the way to the Venetian, and you leverage their internet services, because where we were at Circus Circus, which unfortunately was a circus, did not have the right facilities. It was like a 2 meg upload, and it would just cut you out. So we actually killed where we were staying last night there. We've moved over to the LinQ, so mind you, it was like 5 times the expense to do that, but we want to make sure that we can actually broadcast to you guys in some kind of level of quality. So we're doing it right now from the media room. We're going to take it up to the hotel once we can get checked into the LinQ, and then we'll probably do a follow-up stream. I would like to actually bring content on the screen for you. We do have everything that we need here to do that, and I want to show you kind of the stuff that we covered. But in the interim, I've been taking you guys around with the cell phone with Periscope and kind of giving you guys an up-close look at some of the tech that's out there. So anybody who's been able to tune in today on Twitter has been able to see that through Periscope. We're going to continue to do that. I'm going to come off this live stream in probably an hour or so, and I will take you guys through CES, through Periscope directly. We'll just go live and just have the discussions with some of the folks. We'll go down and check out AMD. That way you guys can see it live with Periscope and see some of the questions that are asking. And the LinQ got flooded today. Yeah, the LinQ did get, the parking lot was evidently like smoked. So yeah, they were dealing with that. Show offline, showing me offline. We just crashed. We're still good? I don't know. I'm showing that we're down. Maybe YouTube's just not showing. Weird. Whatever. We'll go with it. Yeah, it's showing offline on YouTube, so that's why I just stopped. Here's a funny thing. We're gonna do this right here. You guys are gonna see some real meta stuff right now. If you go check Twitter right now, I'm gonna take a Twitter post. Maybe this is somebody screwing with everybody. Says I'm offline, but still rolling. I just tweeted that. That's pretty hilarious. But we'll go with it. 146 people watching. We're gonna go back into it. So if we look going into the second part of day 2, most of that was focused on the Intel Keynote for our side, just to see any of the tech that they're bringing out. One, discussion on the Meltdown and Spec piece, and that was one of the key pieces that we wanted to see, especially in the crypto community, of how will that affect people that have potential. I mean, there's obviously a lot of folks that are going to focus on trying to create some, 0 days to get into people's computers and be looking straight for crypto, just because of crypto's grand value and people that would store their keys locally on their computer. That, from the crypto space, where that would come from is if your computer was compromised, what they'd be looking at is anytime somebody would be accessing that wallet. So if somebody gets into your computer and it's still encrypted, at least the crypto wallet's encrypted, even if they got your DAT file, they wouldn't have essentially your login to that DAT file. So what they're going to do is they're going to wait for you to type in your key if you don't have a hardware wallet. And when you do that, you're compromised. They have your DAT file, and then you can get your keys. Your keys are essentially exposed then, because now somebody can go in and move your funds. So one of the key questions that we had walking into the Intel Keynote was, are they going to talk Spectre? Are they going to talk Meltdown? What are they going to do about it? And right out of the gate, the CEO covered the response time that they have on this. So on very critical things such as this, which is like as critical as it gets, I don't think it gets, this is like a company's worst nightmare, is that your hardware for the last 10 years is compromised. And oh, by the way, like 99% of the world is running on your stuff. So it is the quintessential worst nightmare of a CEO. So the fact that he still held his keynote, he came out of the gate and addressed it, of how they're working with it, and that they gave just some basic indication of how it was going to impact hardware on your computers and on your, if you were hosting any kind of cloud hosting stuff, how would it host from a distributed computing standpoint. Directly, depending what the application is, they came out officially and said 5% to potentially more, depending on the application. Until those patches are completely rolled out to everybody, we won't really know the impact from a performance standpoint. From our standpoint, from the mining scene, I want to see what does that change. Like if I'm mining with a machine on an Intel and we're doing like Monero mining, would it impact the mining now with that patch? I mean, I want to see the difference. I want to observe and report, right? So we are going to take that from a perspective into next week, probably after the BTC Miami conference that we go to. But I'm going to take, we have a range of Intel PC chips back at our shop that are running Monero, and I want to see the differences post that patch and see how big of an impact it is, because we have some 6950s and 7700Ks and that. I want to see what is the impact. We have an 8700K we covered. the 7800X series, you know, all those Intel processors. I want to see what the impact is on for something like Monero. Because why that's relevant and why we even care about that is, so if you look at how much is being computed on the Monero network, if there's up to a 30% hit because of this patch, not everything is being mined on Monero RX Vegas, right? It's total supply of potential of what RX Vega would be your basic hashing calculation. But when you're talking to 7700K, can do 650 hash, 700 hash. I mean, that's almost as fast as an RX 580. So there are tons and tons of people that are using cloud computing, using other CPU farms to do that kind of activity. So if this patch rolls out and it has a direct correlational hit to Monero mining or any CPU mining, ETN, those kind of coins, you're going to have a direct impact to global hash power of up to almost 30%. So I don't want to call it leveling the playing field more towards GPUs, but it would have an effect with it. One of the questions, let's look here. How are you going to get accurate mining benchmarks? So it's going to be a pre and post patch is what we would do for something like that. We would take a machine pre-patch. The Intel update for Spectre and Meltdown has been tagged of what it is. So we'd be benchmarking prior and then doing the patch. I like doing this stuff on live stream, and we would do that with the top like 3 or 4 main cryptocurrencies, or the top 3 or 4 main chipsets that we have. We have a 6700, a 6950K, a 7700, 8600, and an 8700 Intel chip. So I think that would be an interesting seeing if it would hit for cryptocurrency. So going back into media day 2, which was yesterday, coverage. The Intel Keynote was of an amazing display. So I mean, anybody that can go rewatch that keynote, it was kind of worth, at least for parts of it, was totally worth it. There was a very interesting innovation that they were showing around Voxels and how they use 4D imagery to essentially digitize anything that's being recorded across 4 or 5 multiple cameras, and then given that complete 360 view. Why it doesn't matter so much on the crypto side from an innovation standpoint and a data storage standpoint and big data, looking at maybe seeing an IPFS version of that could be an interesting thing. So like, that's part of the reason of going out here is you learn and understand some of the newest innovations. So if Intel has something like Voxels, is Voxels going to show up from a blockchain and ICO standpoint? So if somebody says, hey, we've made an ICO version of Voxel to where you can store that data on an IPFS network, what does that mean? Because part of that was some of that huge data store and the huge cycles that are needed for that. So if you have a very frictionless, something like EOS with an IPFS that can actually have the throughput that's required, it'd be very interesting. I think that would be a farther stretch, because a lot of that's going to be on disk, very relevant, on-prem. So like if you're at an NFL game and they're recording that, they're storing like 4 terabytes for an entire, or 40 terabytes worth of data per NFL game type of thing. So that's a huge kind of storage requirement, obviously. But it just shows you where big data and all that kind of stuff's going, and is there a blockchain component in that, and of that blockchain component, is that a cryptocurrency that could be used? Looks like we're going up and down a little on the stream coverage. I'm just going to keep rolling with it. Hopefully it buffers and it figures its life out. The other part with the common element on Media Day 2, which was yesterday, is around the partnerships that companies are making right now on the innovation around autonomous cars, and why that again doesn't require so much of a blockchain aspect. It does have a large. Looks like we're really up and down here. It does have a large impact on digital identity. I hate doing live streams sometimes with the internet. That needs to be figured out. Mesh networking or something, man. Somebody figure out check how many drop frames. Whew. Dropping about 30% right now. Just drop the quality some. All right, let's try another quality drop. Seems like it's sorted out. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. So back to the Intel piece, and then I'll get into some of the stuff from today, because Intel kind of closed us out yesterday. So Intel back around, the common theme in general, from day one and day two from the media side, has been primarily innovation around autonomous cars, innovation around media partnerships. So you got Paramount, you got MobileEye working with Intel. Bottom line, all those things are great and fine, but how is the digital identity and the transaction nature between those type of elements going to start to work? And you're looking at blockchain tech being looked at for that kind of stuff when it comes to actually storing ledger type of activity on there. So, you know, is that going to fall over to a cryptocurrency, or is it just going to be a tokenization of things? That's why it's very important and relevant. You know, we set and we mine, we do a lot of things of holding these networks, but is there that real activity and that real store of value that's going to end up coming at some point over to some of the existing cryptocurrencies, or are we going to have new ones that are created because of it? The commoditization of these things are what's huge, and what the common theme I'm hearing here. And that was, again, one of the main reasons why I wanted to come out here, is that why we're sitting there building awesome stuff and building, you know, doing observing and reporting on graphics cards. Is the industry adapting to this technology? And that's a huge piece of information that we need to know. Now, if we go to the last bit for Intel's primary keynote, they talked quantum computers. They didn't get really too detailed in it, short of that they created a quantum computer chip. Still has a long way to go, but by and large, it's like 49 qubits. I would love to throw a miner on it to see what it would do, but obviously they wouldn't let us do any of that. And I have tried to. I did bring a USB stick with a multi-miner on it, and I've talked to a few of the vendor folks here, and I've been trying to get them to let me test out some mining on a few of these machines, but a handful of these machines are not connected to the internet, so that's the first problem. So maybe we'll get that okay sometime today from somebody, or into tomorrow. I'm here through tomorrow, close of CES, and then I'm flying back essentially Thursday morning early. I'm taking that red eye back to the St. Louis area, so we're going to have all day on the floor tomorrow. There's no like meetings and stuff, so that's going to be pretty fun. So that got us through essentially through most of Media Day 2. So recap, essentially an acceptance from the industry, from the people putting on CES, that blockchain is here, cryptocurrencies are a thing, and why they did get a few laughs because of the rapid rise in value. Most of the laughs were from the fact that they felt like they missed out, but they think it's still going to grow big. That's a huge thing. So validation on the space. So now if I go into CSE, and mind you, I'm going to give you guys episodes on this stuff, not just this live stream is the fill-in. We have tons of B-roll filmed on this stuff, so I want to give you guys a properly edited video. Hopefully you kind of like at least the video from yesterday. It took a lot longer to create just because we're doing it on a laptop, and I didn't have a mouse with me, and believe it or not, it's like impossible to find a place to buy a mouse around here unless you go off strip. Yeah, it's like I was gonna hit up the Logitech 10 and say, hey dudes, I need a mouse. But essentially, looking at now coming into CES day, essentially the main day one, which is today, coverage. You know, we did the move from hotels. That way we'd have a good connection tonight, so that if we can do another live stream and show you guys some content on video where I can just queue it up, I want to do that. And have a second live stream. I'm also going to try to meet some of the other tech YouTubers. I saw Jay's 2 cents, shook his hand. We have there's a Twitter picture that I tweeted on that. I haven't met any other tech YouTubers today, but I know Linus and folks are in town. I have been tweeting back and forth to one of their people to see if just we can say what's up. But I've had a few people come up to me like, "Hey, dude, I've seen your stuff before," so that's pretty cool. But you say you got a mouse. Check lost and found. Yeah, I'm gonna go hit up Logitech and be like, "Dudes, I need a mouse. It's killing me." But you know, day one coverage, by and large, we went and walked the floor. We went into AMD, so we only went into 3 places today for short of the meetings. We went into AMD's main section here at the Venetian, and how can I say this nicely? I can't say it really nicely. I don't know. It was very uneventful. We did try to talk cryptocurrency with the folks that were there, and while some of them have heard about it, they it was kind of turning a blind eye to us, which kind of wasn't surprising, I guess, but you know, it's like one of those things that you have a whole community that buys probably at scales of GPU buyers, of the traditional GPU buyers, when total volume, if you count total volume in gaming and all that, but don't really want to openly acknowledge the relationships. So the folks there, at least the marketing folks there, just really didn't want to have any conversations at all on blockchain and technology, or blockchain or cryptocurrency mining or any of it. It was just like, yeah, we don't know, man. That's cool. Have fun, and just kind of blew us off, which is, it's what it is. I don't know. I don't accept them to come in here with open arms, but I mean, they weren't really prepared for it. It seemed like they didn't really want to talk about their products either, at all. I mean, we took some B-roll footage there, and they kind of just left us alone. There wasn't a lot of people in their booth at the time when we went through, and I don't know. It seemed very cold, in general. So I don't know what was up with that. I mean, they have a lot to be excited for on the Ryzen side. But I guess I would have just expected more from an event like this, to have it better coverage, or at least have people up to date with like who's buying their products. So I was very surprised by that. We left the AMD booth area, walked straight out, and right to the right of that is MSI. Totally different story with MSI. We walked into MSI's booth and were greeted. They saw, our badges. This is the badge I'm rocking right now, and then we have this here, which shows, Key Online Influencer, and it has, some basic information for me. And I mean, it was like right away they're like, "Oh yeah, online, yeah, you guys are, oh, Bitcoin, awesome, here's a gift bag," and I don't have it with me. We took some of the stuff back up, but it was like a USB stick that looks like a little twin Frozer design. It's like a USB stick with a little container thing. It's awesome. And they were right away, they had people that were educated on cryptocurrency. The guy came over and was like, "Oh yeah, man, totally, we have a whole research thing with cryptocurrency to see if we can make better fan design." I mean, it was very knowledgeable. Totally blew my mind. I mean, it was like night and day from AMD to just right out of the other room into MSI. I mean, MSI had it. Like, their people were educated on it. They embraced it. they seem to, you know, they're like, they answer. I didn't even have to ask the question about supply. They're like, yeah, supply's been kind of rough. We're really working at, you know, looking into first quarter here, trying to get, you know, ramped up supply. They're real excited about their titanium and Duke, which is a new line, a new brand. Or it's a 1080 series. I think they had a 1080 Ti reference in it, but they called it the Duke. You know, they were engaging, wanted to show us some of their stuff, was excited about how to, you know, the low power of the TIs, and again, it was just a very engaging two-way conversation on the cryptocurrency. They asked me how I thought about, you know, some very specific cryptocurrencies. They asked for Zcash and Zen, and I was just blown away that the fact that they knew the cryptocurrencies, you know, and it was multiple people. It wasn't just like one guy, the one crypto guy. It was like collaboratively, MSI like had it on, like they figured it out. I'm like, I'm just waiting for them to go, hey, here's our new mining line. So I got to give them a big shout out. I mean, they knew their stuff, and that's impressive, you know. And you know, they didn't. Their marketing people had no direct information when it came to like new lines of mining cards, but did make mention that, you know, with RX Vega and having some triple fan designs maybe coming out for that, and having some new offerings when it comes to the you know, they said there was a real slowdown in HBM2, but, you know, supply in Q1 should kick up. That's good to hear. You know, that's, I mean, their marketing people are on it. So we left out of there, went over to Seagate. I did do a kind of walkthrough. I opened it up on Periscope, so if people were able to catch it on Periscope, kind of walked through their area with Seagate, and did a couple of their digital experiences. And again, a very engaging conversation from Seagate. I mean, right away they saw the crypto badge and they're like, hey man, you know, what's up? What's going on? You guys doing cryptocurrency? He was like, yeah. Like 3 or 4 of their tech people came right over. I'm sitting there live streaming on Periscope for anybody that was able to catch that, and immediately had a real good conversation with them, you know, with their folks there saying, yeah, we're investing in it. We think it's, you know, we love the fact, we like the IPFS technology. The guy brought up Burst, you know, Burst mining, which is, I mean, right down at Seagate, right? So, I mean, it's right in their wheelhouse when it comes to like storing you know, cryptocurrency on disk and, you know, facilitating IPFS. So again, second company, 2 companies out of the gate that had their, you know, were not just wanting to talk about it, but had like solutions for stuff like, oh yeah, we got new disk speeds and hybrid drives that are, you know, going to be a lot cheaper and have you know, tech that's going to support IPFS. You know, they're looking at that as a, you know, an enabler, right? And then they'll work with big industry, right? They're talking about cloud computing, cloud storage, and all these other very pay entities that are there that companies are going to continue to use, but they're also looking at servicing the, you know, the crypto crowd too when it comes to IPFS types of storage. You know, you look at Steam, you look at DTube, those places that are going to do sharing of, you know, equitable space on hard drives and be able to get cryptocurrency for that equitable space. You know, they're looking at trying to service that level of customer. So, somebody said my echoing's bad. Oh, you guys are picking up that behind me too. Well, so the shotgun mic's turned off. I'm using the big mic here. How does it sound if I'm a little closer? Echoing is bad. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to cut that off. So we'll let me just try to finish out what I was going to talk with you guys through, and then we'll take this up in the room once we can check in and see. Oh no. Nice. Really bad. Just keep going. It's back, but not bad. I don't know. Maybe it's desynced in some way. I don't know. I mean, we hadn't changed anything, obviously, so maybe if I position this right here in front of me. Yeah. You're fine. We're busting on you. Okay. Fine. So we'll keep going. So the next part of, so that was pretty much the first part of the day of going in and checking out the floor stuff. We only got, again, three of the floor companies, you know, AMD, MSI, and Seagate. With all day tomorrow is going to be all the rest of the technology. We're going to go find Gigabyte. I know they have a new mining board. We're going to check that. And then we have we had the conferences covering the digital cryptocurrency, which was a pay track for people, and that pay track was essentially one that participants would pay like $550 to hear. So you had a handful of, you know, key industry leaders and talking FinTech, talking digital assets, talking tokenization, talking ICOs, all things that we really care about. And that, you know, was worth it to us to show up. Luckily for us, being media, we were covered. So we didn't, I mean, I was prepared to pay the $550 for myself and BBT Todd that came with me out here to help out. He's actually down there right now at one of the other conferences that are down there, and we're, you know, covering that part while I'm up here doing this piece. But the talk was super relevant in this space because this is the clash of big government meeting FinTech technologists and blockchain people that are indoctrinated in the industry that have been there for a while. So you had like Michael Turpin, which has been a pivotal player in the space since practically before time on Bitcoin. You're talking 2012 time frame, 2013 time frame, talking the space, being part of that space. And working, you know, acting as a moderator for the FinTech people. So the big key takeaway out of all the stuff that we captured here, and we'll have a separate video that's covering the live stream for you guys, but or that of the actual talk. But industry was talking about it. Industry was accepting it. They talked about tokenization of everything. That's going to be, if 2017 was ICOs, 2018 is going to be the tokenization of everything, and then big industry putting assets into crypto space, putting it into blockchain space. So we're talking a frictionless transaction, blockchain stuff through augmented realities, blockchain through VR and cryptocurrencies. So are the industry going into cryptocurrencies themselves. So one of the kind of disconcerting things is like when they announced some of the folks that were on the panel. So Bitrex's CEO was there and covered a pretty, really, I would say a really good representation of what they're doing right now at Bitrex when it comes to like how they onboard ICOs, how they onboard people in the space in general that are trying to bring a token onto their platform. You know, he went through that kind of due diligence that they have to go through. He said that at the beginning of the year, they started with 4 people working at Bitrex, and now they're up to 40 full-time employees with 40 additional contractor employees. So you're looking at a total of, you know, 80 people that run Bitrex right now, and they turned off the amount of people, you know, the amount of people that were coming into that. They had to turn off invites right now, but they're looking to bring those back on, hopefully here in first quarter, for more people can kind of get into the space, you know, into Bitrex and into the exchanges. So that's kind of good. But just the due diligence that he went through when it came to the ICOs, of making sure that they're checking out who's the development teams, what's the roadmaps, all those kind of things, and that's a relevant, track for them to onboard people. It made us feel more comfortable with the things that are the program. If it gets onto Bitrex, any new tokens that get onto Bitrex, they went through a gauntlet like regulation level stuff to get listed. So it's just not they're adding anybody on there. The tokenization of everything was another really big, huge discussion when it came to assets, breaking house ownership, taxes, all of that kind of stuff. So another really big piece on that. And then finally, redefining privacy. That was probably the #1 theme through at least about half of the presentations today when it came to digital finance and people's commoditization of their identity. So, nobody's really figured out identity. That's what Civic and a few of the other alt currencies are trying to, or ICO currencies are trying to do. But, redefining privacy, I mean, that word alone kind of scares me in a way, but, that was a lot of the discussion with the regulators and stuff. Like, who can own your data, what data is owned by you, or owned by the companies that have your data, and what are the rights on that data? Because right now it's kind of just one of those things that have been collected, and when you hit the agreement on like Facebook or any of these other things, you're just, all this data is captured on you. And it's not just the direct data, it's the usage, it's activity, it's your habits, all that kind of stuff that we already know. But, looking at augmenting that data over to a blockchain, it's immutable, it's stored forever. How is the accessibility to that, and can you be identified on there if it's stored on there, that kind of thing. So that was the real kind of coverage on there. And I mean, I have a lot more, guys. I'm trying to hold the train of thought and look at my notes with people behind me, talking, and it's, this is a kind of crowded media area right now, so it is what it is. So I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to let you guys ask me some questions, and I will try to answer them. And what we're going to do is wrap this up, and then we're going to try to take all this stuff and get up to the link, so then I can get a quiet area to then have that conversation. Okay, 8 in the morning, okay. Okay, so we just got the 15-minute warning here, so you guys have 5 minutes, and then I'm going to shut this down. So 5 minutes if you guys got. BT is mining on anyone's personal agenda at where they do it, the speech itself. Mining came up briefly in the cryptocurrency discussion for the game of coins, and it only came down to just understanding that proof of work is still very powerful and very relevant. But people are looking at how to do that on a, looking at other technologies. They were just acknowledging the fact that it uses a lot of energy sources. So not so much on GPU mining at all on these. When Volta. No discussion on Volta out. I'm going to be hitting the NVIDIA piece tomorrow, so we will be rolling live with that. We'll be going over to NVIDIA and asking those questions with Volta there too. Can you show some CEC, please? What's up with Sung not wanting to talk with you? Hey, he talked with me. Guys, he took the call. I mean, he took the conversation. I walked up. I stood up there. There was a lot of people trying to get to him. He saw me kind of sitting there. He saw the badge, and he just walked over, and he's like, hey, thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming out. And, I was able to ask him a piece on cryptocurrency. I think it was just a very typical response from a CEO when, he's going to say his piece, and that's all he's going to say. And, I was kind of taking a low shot there to ask and put him on the spot with cryptocurrency. So he just, slid that question and was like, hey, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and that was it. So. When are GPUs coming back in stock? Give you guys a. This is the media room. So a lot of people have kind of left. As you can kind of see media kind of doing their thing. Back here by the innovations area. And that is the stuff there. I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Good, I didn't. Make sure that I got answered everybody's questions. And stay tuned. I'll bring it back. And hopefully I have these mic issues. See you guys.
left for the day.